Welcome to my channel, where stories come to life through every word. Immerse yourself in tales that range from heartfelt and gentle to thrilling and captivating. Hit subscribe and join us on every adventure.
Chapter 1. Chaotic Times. Brother Changsheng, wake up. In his half-dreaming state, Changsheng faintly heard a clear voice, calling by his ear. A weightless sensation, like drifting in a dream, lingered endlessly in his chest. At that moment, a bitter liquid trickled into his mouth, making him shudder involuntarily. Moments later, Changsheng forced his eyes open. Where am I? The sight that greeted him was utterly unfamiliar. It was a small thatched hut, barely a few square feet in size, its roof covered with some wild grass of unknown name. Sunlight filtered through gaps in the roof, scattering across the earthen floor. This room was dilapidated, with nothing but an old wooden bed shoved into the western corner. A faint musty odor hung in the air, unpleasant to breathe. Beside the bed stood a delicate-looking youth, his face filled with worry. The boy seemed about 13, dressed in coarse linen, his frame thin, and his complexion somewhat pale. Yet his large round eyes shone brightly, full of quick wit. The voice from before clearly belonged to him. Brother Changsheng, you scared me half to death. I thought you weren't going to make it. Those bastards. How could they strike you so viciously? When Changsheng remained silent, Feng Dao ground his teeth and cursed. After a while, seeing the lingering confusion on Changsheng's face, the boy grew tense. It's me, Daozi, don't you remember? Did you hurt your head? Just the day before yesterday, I carried you home from the street. A month ago, you even promised to take me to the Mandarin Duck Pavilion, so I could broaden my horizons. Feng Dao rambled on non-stop, as though trying to wake him with words. Growing up in Changcheng County, he had heard strange tales of wandering souls, and his elder brother's condition seemed eerily similar. He thought that recounting the past might call him back. At the mention of head, Changsheng suddenly reacted. An agonizing pain shot from the back of his skull. Hiss! It hurts! The pain pierced straight through his core. He couldn't help but cry out, instinctively reaching behind his head, where his fingers felt dampness. When he held his hand before his eyes, bright red blood stained his fingertips. His skull had been split open. At that instant, a torrent of alien memories flooded violently into his mind. Ah! With a wretched cry, the agony overwhelmed him, and Changsheng blacked out. When Changsheng awoke again, the sky was already leaning toward dusk. The setting sun streamed through the cracks in the door, casting a strange crimson glow upon the room. He sat quietly against the earthen wall, lost in thought. Only now did he realize he had crossed into another world. From being an ordinary 20-year-old youth on Blue Star, a single drunken night had thrown him into this strange realm. The body he now inhabited also bore the name Changsheng, and was likewise 20 years of age. Having grown up in an age of information explosion in his previous life, he swiftly accepted reality, then carefully sifted through the memories in his head. Before long, he gained a rough understanding of his situation. This was the Great Zhou Dynasty, Qingning Prefecture, Xiangping County. 600 years ago, Qin Muan swept across the land with unmatched martial might and founded this dynasty. Several centuries had passed since, but now Qin Muan, frail with old age, had not appeared in court for 3 years. Dark forces within Great Zhou had begun to stir, because Jiangping lay on the empire's border, near the southern tribe's territory. Unrest here was especially evident. Bandits rampaged, Demonic cults thrived. The county was perilous. Martial arts. The great Zhou Emperor. Lu Changsheng's gaze flickered. Fragments of memory shattered his old worldview. Martial cultivators. Who could live for centuries? Terrifying beyond belief. Brother Changsheng. Just rest well for now. As for Uncle Lu's matter, we'll investigate slowly later. A voice cut through his thoughts. It was Feng Dao again, seeing him somewhat better and preparing to leave. Snapping out of his daze, Lu Changsheng smiled faintly. Thank you, little brother, for these past few days. He and Feng Dao's family were neighbors, their ancestors distantly related, so their bond had always been close. This time, after his predecessor had been struck down and left in the filthy gutter, it was Feng Dao and his sister who had carried him home. The Uncle Lu Feng Dao mentioned was the father of this body. He had been an ordinary porter, working heavy jobs for a courier agency. Half a month ago, he went out and never returned. Even the agency had already sent condolence silver, a grim sign that his fate was sealed. In these times, a man's life was worth no more than 10 taels of silver. Yet before even holding that paltry sum securely, he had been ambushed in the street, bludgeoned unconscious. That was what led to this soul transmigration. Clearly, someone had long since set their sights on his compensation money. At this thought, a chill seeped into Lu Changsheng's heart. Now, not only was he gravely injured, his strength was feeble. All he could do was bide his time in hiding. Brother Changsheng, what are you saying? I'm still waiting for you to recover and take me out into the Zhonghu. Feng Dao grinned mischievously, then turned and walked away, watching his figure fade into the distance. Lu Changsheng said nothing, silently leaning against the wall to recover his strength. The air was deathly still. His ragged breathing sounded unusually loud. It wasn't until night had fully fallen that the dizziness finally began to ease. Lu Changsheng pushed himself up and slowly stepped outside. Soon he was in the courtyard. It was a small yard, fenced off with dry wooden stakes, no more than 20 meters across. 4 thatched huts stood to the south, 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a storage room. He went straight toward the storage room, intent on finding something useful inside. From memory, he knew there were odds and ends collected over the years by his predecessor's father. Although his predecessor had always dismissed them as worthless junk, the man had worked as an unofficial porter for the Courier Guild, traveling everywhere. Who knew what unexpected gains he might have brought back? Before long, Lu Changsheng reached the storage room. The wooden door hung ajar, partly damaged. Clearly it had once been violently kicked open. His expression darkened. It wasn't hard to guess. The whole courtyard had already been ransacked by those thugs. Crack! Lu Changsheng pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room was small and in complete disarray. Tattered animal pelts and a few worthless books were strewn across the floor. There were also several bottles and jars of unknown purpose. One glance was enough to know none of it had value. He slowly walked to the northwest corner, crouched down, and picked up a book from the ground. Travels of Suo Feng. The 4 bold characters on the cover caught his eye. Fortunately, his predecessor had studied some literacy. Otherwise, he would have been completely lost. Books were the first gateway to understanding this world, and naturally his top choice. He turned the pages one by one, studying carefully. It contained just over 20 pages, telling the tale of a martial wanderer named Zhao Suo, who had traveled the land several centuries ago. Within were notes on many customs across Great Zhou, as well as bandits and knights-errant he had encountered. Lu Changsheng gradually became engrossed. Time slipped by quickly. The moon rose to its zenith. Night deepened. The surroundings were utterly silent, save for the soft swish, swish of turning pages. In the 350th year of Great Zhou, the entire village of Situ, Qingyun County, vanished overnight. The authorities searched in vain and eventually let the matter drop. In the 363rd year of Great Zhou, the villagers of Kaoping, Nanking County, were frightened to death. Half an hour later, Lu Changsheng slowly closed the book, his expression icy. This world was far more terrifying than he had imagined. The scariest things weren't the bandits, but the hidden existences lurking in the dark. By the faint light from outside, he continued reading the remaining books scattered on the floor. The more he learned, the more vigilant he became, until he had sufficient strength. The lands outside the county were absolutely the most dangerous of all. Night grew, late. Outside, the twisted shadows of trees intertwined like a pack of demons, poised to devour any passerby. The silence was absolute. Lu Changsheng exhaled in relief, just about to rise and leave, when suddenly, as if remembering something, he hurried to the innermost corner on the right. He rapped the back of his hand against a stone tile on the floor. Tock, tock, the crisp sound echoed through the room. Clearly there was a hollow space beneath. That was the only way such a sound could ring out. Only then did he recall his predecessor's father's words. Changsheng, if the day ever comes when you face hardship, remember, beneath the northwest corner of the storage room lies something for you. Without hesitation, Lu Changsheng pried up the tile. Beneath lay a small pit, inside of which rested a black wooden box. He lifted the box out and opened it. Inside was a yellow-bound book and what appeared to be a medicinal herb. A refreshing fragrance immediately filled his nose. This was... Lu Changsheng picked up the herb, suspicion flickering across his face. Centennial yellow star, discovered. Absorb, yes or no? A cold synthetic electronic voice suddenly rang out, startling him so much he jumped. Who's there? He barked sharply, but there was no reply. Could it be a golden finger? When nothing answered, realization dawned, his expression shifting slightly. Sure enough, his suspicion was soon confirmed. Energy source detected. Absorb, yes or no? Once again, the mechanical, emotionless voice echoed. Absorb. Lu Changsheng spoke silently in his heart. At once, a warm current surged into his body. The next instant, a translucent blue interface that only he could see appeared in the air before him. Host, Lu Changsheng. Age, 2050. Realm, none. Martial arts, none. Skills, none. Equipment, none. Status, frailed on origin energy. Points, 6. Bound beast, armored pangolin, white. Isn't this the game hack tool I bought in my past life? And it even comes with a pet. At the sight, Lu Changsheng's expression shifted in shock. The origin energy points clearly referred to the warm current he had just absorbed. Gazing at the data lines, he fell into deep thought. The number 50, shown in parentheses, after Qi's at his age. Did that mean his lifespan was capped at 50? But thinking of his current body, he felt slightly relieved. In this world, for ordinary people, living to 50 was already considered decent. His eyes then moved to the status column. After the word frail, there was a small green plus sign. Could it be? With a mere thought, he tapped it. In an instant, his origin energy points dropped to 5. Countless streams of warm energy surged like waves into his limbs and bones. His entire body began to recover at a rapid pace, and even the wound at the back of his skull sent out a tingling sensation. Before long, Lu Changsheng felt vitality return. His complexion grew rosy once more. Clenching his fists, he was overjoyed. The effectiveness of these origin energy points was simply overwhelming. In such a terrifying world, having this as a foundation meant he might truly survive. Otherwise, relying on his own circumstances, forget martial arts. Even basic survival would have been arduous, especially since this body had long been ruined by wine, women, gambling, and brothels, utterly drained. In the memories of Lu Changsheng, his father's frequent absence meant he had grown up without discipline, falling in with bad company from an early age. As for martial cultivation, it had never been possible. He could not endure hardship. Besides, he had never possessed any suitable cultivation technique. Martial arts manuals were priceless treasures. Except for the wealthy clans and sects in the county, commoners had no chance of accessing them. This was one of the methods by which the powerful controlled the masses. As for joining the official forces, that was even harder. Without a certain degree of cultivation, one could never enter. At this moment, only one thought filled Lu Changsheng's heart: cultivation. Only with true strength could he control his own fate. His eyes shifted to the last entry, bound beast. With a thought, a round, earth-yellow pangolin appeared in the room, curled up on the floor, fast asleep. Its head was long and narrow, its limbs tipped with sharp claws, and its whole body was covered in sturdy scales that shimmered softly under the moonlight. Its defenses, clearly formidable. Bound beast, armored pangolin. Level 1, quality white. Skills, earth burrow, common. Armor reinforcement, common. Consuming a certain amount of origin, energy points could raise its level and skills. Staring at the pangolin that had suddenly appeared, Lu Changsheng was stunned. He could actually control the beast's movements, like an extension of his own body. This discovery sent waves of excitement through him. He knew that just 300 li south of Jiangping County lay the Changyun Mountains. That range was one of the countless branches of the great 10,000 mountains, overflowing with spirit herbs, but also crawling with ferocious beasts, so dangerous that even many martial artists dared not venture deep. The mountains had long become forbidden ground for humans. Now, with this earth-burrowing beast, as long as he nurtured it well, the spirit creatures within the Changyun Mountains could be harvested for origin energy points, which in turn could strengthen both the beast and his own cultivation. Step by step, he could push deeper into the range, forming a closed cycle. One day, he might even explore the great 10,000 mountains themselves. This was, without a doubt, the perfect path to power. At the thought, Lu Changsheng clenched his fists, trembling with excitement. He could hardly wait to test it. His mind reached out, sinking directly into the body of the armored pangolin. The pangolin stirred, eyes snapping open to survey its surroundings. In its gaze flickered a trace of human-like intelligence. Amazing! Lu Changsheng lifted its claws, slashing them through the air several times. He could clearly feel the beast's body and limbs, as though it were his own avatar. Then he had it scurry about the room. After playing for a while, he recalled the beast back into the system's space. His eyes then fell upon the book inside the wooden box. It lay quietly within. Faint traces of mold lingering around it. Iron cloth garment. The three bold characters stood out sharply on the cover. Lu Changsheng hastily picked up the manual and flipped it open. Inside were illustrations. A figure standing wide-legged, arms clasped before the chest, each pose subtly different. 18 diagrams in total. Rustle, rustle. Half a tea's time later, he had reached the final page. A look of realization appeared on his face. His guess was right. This was indeed a martial arts cultivation method, but the most crucial part was missing. There wasn't a single mention of medicinal baths. One had to know that for this kind of hard QE cultivation technique, the most important factor was the combination of medicinal meals and medicinal baths in order to properly practice it. Otherwise, it would be far too easy to cripple oneself. In his memory, quite a few people in Changsheng County had once obtained this manual. This was also the only martial art that commoners could easily come by. No wonder the father of this body was able to acquire it. It was probably because he had planned to cultivate it himself, but for some unknown reason had given up halfway. Many people in the past had recklessly tried to train in it, despite the risks, but the outcomes were rarely good. Only a handful had managed to break through to the skin tempering stage, becoming true martial practitioners. In this manual, the martial path was divided into stages: skin tempering, flesh tempering, bone forging, blood exchange. As for realms beyond that, there was no record at all. Looking at the torn last page of the book, it was clear that the most vital part regarding medicinal baths had been deliberately removed. He couldn't help but suspect that this was the work of certain people on purpose, some local tyrants and sects, in order to raise cannon fodder and disposable fighters, would hand such manuals to commoners, giving them nothing more than a fleeting illusion. But for him, this wasn't really an obstacle. Now that he had the game hack tool, even without the medicinal baths, it wouldn't matter. What's more, this cultivation method suited him extremely well. Once mastered, this kind of hard body technique would grant him formidable defense, drastically increasing his chances of survival. With a thought, a blue system panel instantly appeared in the void. In the martial arts column, a new line suddenly appeared. Martial art, iron cloth shirt, not yet initiated. But the plus point icon behind the technique was grayed out. Could it be that I have to first initiate the technique before I can use the cheat tool? Or are the attribute points insufficient? Changsheng pondered. Seeing that night was falling, he decided not to think too much for now, and planned to verify it the next day. He went straight to the bed and lay down. The night passed without words. The next morning, as the sun rose, the autumn light filtered through the cracks of the door, scattering across the head of the bed. Changsheng quickly got dressed and stepped outside. He walked over to a large water jar on the left side of the courtyard. There, a handsome young man's face was reflected in the water. His eyes were sharp, with a trace of determination between his brows. He immediately began washing his face, and afterward headed to the kitchen. After searching for a while, he finally found a pitch-black round flatbread on the stove. Picking up the hand-sized food, he took a bite. Its hardness could truly rival stone. His teeth nearly cracked. Only by gulping down some well water could he barely swallow the hard black bread, and even then, his throat felt scratched raw. He had nearly died on the spot. Never before had he eaten something so hard and unpalatable. He was utterly unaccustomed to it. Thinking about having to eat this iron-hard bread every single day, he couldn't help but shudder. Changsheng, want to eat meat. I don't want to eat this wretched thing ever again. Next, Changsheng stepped into the middle of the courtyard, preparing to test the iron cloth shirt technique. The initiation stage of this art was quite simple. Each day one had to strike the body with wooden sticks. With the addition of medicinal baths, one would gradually be able to step through the entry gate. But since he lacked the crucial medicinal baths, all he could do was try and see. Hopefully the cheat tool would help him overcome this threshold. What concerned him most at the moment was that he had no one to assist him. At this thought, Lu Changsheng frowned. Do I really have to ask the siblings Feng Dao for help? Just then, the sound of light footsteps came from outside. A young boy hurried over, leaping over the fence. Oh, Brother Changsheng, you recovered this quickly. Feng Dao came closer, his face full of surprise. He hadn't expected that after. Just one day apart, Lu Changsheng's complexion would already show some healthy color. It was just a small injury, a night's rest, and I'm much better. Lu Changsheng smiled lightly, not bothering to explain. You've come at the right time. I was just about to practice martial arts, and I'll need your help. Without wasting words, he immediately placed the iron cloth shirt manual on the stone table. The other boy was still young, but he had just enough strength to be useful. Are you crazy? This technique has crippled countless people. Feng Dao, who had studied a little under Lu Changsheng's father, instantly recognized the manual on the table. The iron cloth shirt was by no means unfamiliar in Xiangping County. Many people had once forced themselves to practice it, using acupuncture to stimulate their potential, only to end up permanently disabled. That was why few people dared to train in it by force anymore.